Good morning, everybody. Well, for me, it's morning. Hello, everybody. I'm Tara. I'm your host today, and I have Abe with me. He will be sharing the basics of drawing in ink from still life, and he'll be using a whiteboard today. Before I let Abe get started, just a couple of Etchr items. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Etchr. Share the link with your artist friends so that they can join us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment area. I will feed the questions to Abe if they're relevant at that time. If not, I will save them to the end during our Q&A session. Throughout the session, I will be dropping in some Etchr links and information. And with that said, I am turning everything over to Abe. Welcome, Abe.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's nighttime in here, 10 p.m. And then I'm a nocturnal animal. An artist is always like that, so there's no problem with me. I have my sample swords here. That's one. I think this is better.
There you go. So I put the spotlight on the spotlight's now on the artwork for you.
Okay, here.
Yes.
So these are small works that I have done. Since it's because of the pandemic, I cannot go out most of the time. I'm using these foods. So these are local foods that I am using already. I want to eat this. These are street foods. So this is called an isaw. An isaw is a chicken intestine. There's a balut. It's an egg of a duck. Some are banana. So it's a sweetened banana. But today, what I'm going to teach you is how to manipulate ink using whiteboard for the first time. And then on my second demo, I'm gonna use this Etchr pens with a watercolor plate for my demo. So these are the samples. The reason why I always start with an ink drawing using whiteboard is so I won't get scared to have erasures later on. It's like an exercise and building my confidence at the same time. So I have this reference here, and I'm gonna copy it. So I'm gonna start with the proportion. But the thing with whiteboard marker or dry erase, as we call it, you cannot repeat the process all over again, unless otherwise it will be ruined. So you have to be very technical, analytical, and at the same time, very precise to be able to do this. So I'm thinking way ahead. I have to strategize and then to look at proportions, not just with the using geometric line or shapes to do this. So I'm making dots to make it. So let me begin. I will begin in the center, and from that, I will start using dots. I'm calculate the size. Should always have variation of line and hand pressure.
Abe, do you have both microphones on?
Really? Oh, sorry.
How's
Am I
that,
okay?
everybody?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's better. So I'm starting with the details right away. I have to strategize. The line should be not that too heavy because the technique in ink drawing, yes, I call it less is more. If you put too much line together, that would be ruined or it will look messy. So you have to be very, again, precise and then only put what is needed. Compared with pencil you can just smudge and then you can put a shading to make it three-dimensional. But when it comes to ink drawing, everything else is done using lines. So it's all about proximity. The proximity is very important when it comes to drawing. So in order to create shaded areas, the lines should be closer with each other. If you want to make it lighter, then it should be far away from each other. As simple as that. Later on, after this demo, I'm gonna show you what the lines techniques that I have used. So this is just a warm up that I always do all the time. In pencil, you can always erase, but again, in ink drawing, cannot do much of everything. Just have it erase. And then I'm putting the shading based on not just on the reference material. I did this, but more on the contour. So I'm following the contour of this thread. So if it's rounded, I should be putting rounded strokes to make it look like rounded. As simple as that. So drawing is illusory. You have to capture that illusion. Not perfect, not necessarily exact, but at least you need to give justice to what you are doing.
Can you talk about the curved line and maybe give an example of the difference between that and how that works differently between that and a straight line on a piece?
Because if we're just using a straight line, hatching, for example, it would not work very well with a rounded object. It should follow its contour. It should follow its shape as basically as that. So we need to be observant as an artist. We need to be really good with the texture, at least in a way. Actually, before I start drawing something else, I need to touch the object itself. It should be tactile like this one. So I will be doing a demo of this one later on. So I need to touch it in this manner. So I should have a feel that this is rounded downwards. This is rounded downwards. So the lines that I will be putting later on would be downward lines. And then also I'm working on the variation of line strokes. Some are heavy, like this one. Some are thin. Some are almost fading. Just like that one. because the language of lines is all about the thickness and then the hand pressure that you're putting in. If you want to make your lines very thick, then you need to put a heavy hand pressure, and then the language of it, it's really forward to your eyes. It's near to your eyes. If you want to make some of the areas with dimension or far away from your eyes, then the line should be thinner.
And how do you decide what type of line to use? You just go back and forth between looking at the piece and deciding to use a standard line versus stippling?
Basically, I'm using different line techniques, or if not, I'm combining both. For example, a hatch line is like this one, and then a curvilinear is like this one. So if you combine it together, then it's basically, it forms a shape. Like on this one, this is a stippling. So I want to make some of the areas with a little bit bumpy texture. So uh, the best methodology or the best technique that I can put into this part is a stippling line. It's basically, you need to be instinctive, and then you need to use your intuition as an artist. Besides being too much technical on it, you have to kill your subject matter. You have to use your senses, sense of touch. So by doing this, later on, if I'm gonna draw it again, repeat it again on a paper, I have much more confidence. It will be much more easier for me. I will not worry that my work is not okay. You just have to follow the proportion, always and always. And then I'm holding my pen in this manner because it will make the lines much more lighter. If you want to put details, you need to hold the pen in this manner. It will create shorter strokes. If you want to make longer strokes, you need to hold your pen in this manner. So I'm teaching techniques as well. And then also, you need to put the cast shadows. Again, on the shadow parts, the lines are closer with each other. So it's all about proximity. It creates a separation that this one is a shaded area. This one is, of course, with light source. By the way, I just bought this whiteboard marker. That's why the ink is too flowy. And then I think that's it.
That shadow really helps
Okay.
separate it from the background now.
Yep. So I can do more ad libs. The thing with ink is you cannot erase. So you need to remember that. That's why I always practice using whiteboard every time. So that's one sample. I can make another one sample since we have 30 minutes, and then I can draw I think faster. So I will make another sample, this one, a live demo. By the way, I was using these techniques all together earlier. So hatch lines, we have the cross hatching, we have the curvilinear, we have the circularism. So this one is good for granules or textures. If you want to put holes on your work, it should not, it's not necessarily a perfect circle, but it's more like has different sizes and an even form. And then stippling, it can be used like for some textures if you want to make your work with look like has a wrap texture in it. And then stippling, rather pointillism is more on detailing. So I'm combining all these lines together to create this one, as you can see. So same goes here. If you're going to look at this fried chicken, it's a combination of different lines. So the same goes with this egg in here. So you have to identify. So this one is basically hatch lines and then stippling together. So this is a guide. You have to create and then practice every time to do this. So the thing with practicing your lines or having line exercises, your hands will be not heavy, and then it will be easier for you to draw perfectly or flawlessly. That's it. And then, yeah, I will start with a new demo. So, so I will be drawing it based on my angle. Of course, it will look like, it will look a little bit different compared with your angle. But let me start.
Right, because we all have an overview of the garlic, where you'll have an angled view of the garlic
Yep.
pieces.
Okay. So from here, I need to follow the what I call it LOA or line of action. Actually, it's used for the figure drawings, but I have to use a diagonal line here because on your angle, it looks diagonal. Also in my angle, it looks a bit diagonal. It's not a straight line. It's not horizontal, so it's a little bit diagonal. So I'm using a line of action technique, and as well. So this is using, of course, geometrics, and then to measure the circumference, I have to create point system drawing. So like this one, this is for the width, and then another width for this one. So it's angled towards here, this one, and then this one is angled towards here. And basically, so make thin lines together, shape it. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's just the. So in my mind, I'm mapping out lines and planes like this one, but to be honest, I don't need this anymore. But in order, since this is a demo, I have to break it down to you so at least you have an idea. Probably you know this already, but again, for the benefit of those people who were getting confused on working with proportions and scaling, so I'm making a mind map of this one. Again, when I see objects, I'm seeing lines, I'm seeing planes, I'm seeing shapes, and then so that's why I was able to draw the bread quickly, very quickly. So from this one, I'm gonna do cluster drawing, and then when I say cluster drawing, so this one is one cluster for me. So it's a bunch closer to the eyes, and then this one is another. Actually, it's three clusters. So I'm starting with the major details, and then later on we'll be working with the minor details. Simple as that. Okay, I'm gonna use a different pen to work on it. Oh, that's one.
This process definitely
Okay.
helps breaking it down into shapes, giving it the placement on the paper definitely helps build the visual.
So also, I am identifying where the light source is coming from. So the light source is on the top part, and then the shadowed areas must be on the bottom. So I will create right away the contrast. So the shaded areas, I'm gonna start on it first things first, and then work on the details later. So these are just a basic assumption of putting the lines to make shadows. And then later on, I will dwell on the details. If you put too much details, particularly if you have a small work, it will ruin your work because that's too much lines. It's not good for me. Okay, now on this one, also I'm working on the contours. Of course, that could be a lace later on. Never mind. Let's keep it in that manner. So at least you can see the guideline. So this is the basic assumption of putting the shadow and then the light source. Now I have to put the cast shadow right away to make more contrast on my work, and then I will dwell on the details. So the cast shadow, again, the proximity of lines are closer with each other. It's darker now, and then you can do a cross hatching like this one if you want to make it darker. Okay, now let's dwell on the details. Sometimes if you're not you're so unsure of your line, so you have to practice. Or sometimes, yeah, do straight lines like this one. You want to make it heavy, just put pressure on your elbows. Again, the pressure should be not on your wrist, not on your fingers, but rather on the tip of your pen and then on your elbows like this one. So I'm putting pressure in here, and then my shoulders are also moving. Okay, now I can work on the detailing.
We have a question from the group here. What advice would you have for someone who has shaky hands when they are sketching?
Okay, the good advice for that is you create a number 8. Okay, do it every time, number 8, and then afterwards you get the groove. Then do it counterclockwise, so your hands would not be shaky. If not, also you can put a paper on top like this one, so at least it won't distract you. You can rest your hands in here with a paper or maybe a tracing paper. Tracing paper actually is much more advisable, so you can see uh, what's beneath. Because if it's a paper only, you cannot see what's behind it, so you might panic and then it will ruin your work. So do number 8 as much as possible. If you can do it on a wall or a huge paper, to exercise your arms in this manner. So that's the best advice I can give. Okay. So that's the details. If I put too much more details, my work will be ruined. So I'm gonna start on paper now. So if you don't have questions with my whiteboard technique, now I am having the group of it. Let me start with my paper works. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this one again. So maybe crush it. So I will much more have challenge. Okay, that's better. So how come I'm copying live? Because the most important skill for an artist is eye and heart hand coordination. You need to be really observant. Before I draw, I look at my subject matter for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, or sometimes 30 minutes. I just keep staring on it, memorizing all the necessary details. Because I always imagine that what if I'm drawing a person? Maybe it will go to the toilet and then boom, I cannot capture the essence anymore. So I have to work on my concentration. I have to use my detective skills and as an artist. You have to be really observant. You have to be like a detective, as I say it. Or in other terms, as I always tell my students, you have to marry your subject matter as if she's the most beautiful thing in your eyes. Okay, so examples. I got better. Okay, so I'm gonna use 0.05 Etchr graphic pen for sketching. And then if I want to make some line sticker, 0.1. And then number 3 could be also used, or number 2. But I think this one is enough. So, so mapping out, so I can use lines like this one, very thin lines. So this is the height. So you look at the angle I hold my Etchr pens.
I am going to drop in a couple of links. One is for our Etchr website, where you can find all of the Etchr tools, including the graphic pen set, which is a 16 set. I'm also going to put in Abe's 90-minute mini workshop, which will be on June 12th. That will focus on inking animals. And then I'll also put in our feedback survey for everybody.
So if I want to do a mass shading, because in mass shading, in pencil, it's like this. So I'm holding a pencil right now. So mass shading is like this one. But when it comes to line drawing, mass shading is like this one. Super thin lines, as if you cannot see it, but when you look at it very closely, it has lines on it. So it creates a differential to make your ink drawings softer. So I'm gonna manipulate the technique here later. As if I'm etching. And then I'm using a watercolor paper, by the way. I love the texture. If I want to add details, so I'm shifting my my pen handling skills in this manner. So I encourage you to drop questions if you have any. I'm much more willing to answer that.
Keep talking about the way, just sharing how you're holding the pen and the pressure it puts is inspiring a lot of people. Your techniques are answering a lot of the questions already. And I think some of them are sketching along. So you're doing great.
Thank you. Okay, so I would not mind this one. This skin. I am gonna work on that later on. So I'm gonna work on the curvilinear patterns here. And then again, the proximity is very important thing when it comes to ink drawing. And then if you want to create some areas darker, you need to work on your cross hatching. Let's see, it's already coming out.
And we are halfway through our session already.
I can slow it down.
No, you're doing wonderful.
Okay,
I don't
changed.
know if you want to talk about your mini workshop at all and what you're going to be focusing on.
So on my mini workshop, I'm gonna be working on animal drawing. And then I'm gonna be drawing a rhino, a lion, and an eagle. So it's all about different textures. And then the details are much more different compared with this one. Much more the same technique, but different approach because it has more texture, it has more depth, it has more illusory illusory effects to create it more volumetric, to make it more three-dimensional in a manner, in a way. So if you are interested, uh, you can enroll on that mini workshop that I'm preparing on the 12th of June. And then I really like this pens. It's actually beginner friendly. So you need to purchase this material. The handling is very smooth, and then the ink flows very okay. So look at this one. I'm using what? For circularism. So it's not lines, but rather circles. It's not a full circle, but rather combination. It does look like a circle, but it's not a circle. So I'm looking at the details. You need to be really observant. That's the way I do it. There's no other technique to become a good artist. You need to work, keep on practicing, and then just observe. Even if you're good already, but you don't practice and then you don't have discipline with you, you will not be good at all. So my advice is just keep on working.
And some days you just have to doodle. You sit down with a shape and
Yes.
play with it.
Yep.
While we have a moment, please tag us with your artwork at hashtag Etchr Studio. You'll be entered into weekly prizes in our community. We also have a Facebook group that is private. So you can get on there, safely talk, share your artwork, look for advice, and it's not all over Facebook. It is just in the group. The group is very active and very, very supportive.
So on this area, this is a bit dark. So I'm gonna draw on the shape first. And then this is a bit hanging. Super light stroke. And then I want to make this one darker. But I don't want to make it very heavy on the shadowed area. So I'm gonna use hatch lines here as a primer for my shading. And then eventually work on the contour lines again to make it more convincing. Again, the word is convincing because it should be illusory. Okay, now I'm gonna show it to you on camera. You can see that my vertical lines or my hatch lines work really well with the very soft or subtle shading. And then I'm putting curvilinear lines on top of it. It looks like a cross hatching, by the way, but it works very well. By the way, I'm not just using ink. I'm also teaching pastels. I'm working on oils and other stuff. So you have to be really good in drawing. If you want to be really good in painting, you need to have good foundation skills in drawing. So an ink is an alternative when it comes to pencil, and then it's a good for building up confidence because if you have a pencil, it's the same reason. Like I have a sharing like my dad is an artist, so when I was a kid, so he doesn't give me any pen or any pencil like this one. So I was already given a permanent marker, so I cannot create mistakes. So the mistakes are part of my drawing. So eventually, I was able to develop my confidence. So actually, my drawing is not really perfect. It doesn't really look good. I on my part, I'm not yet satisfied. But the thing is, take it one at a time, so you can master it. You have to understand your subject matter. Okay. Now, I think I'm gonna use a heavier pen, number 3, Etchr, for the cast shadows. And then cross hatching to make it much more okay.
Just dropped in our feedback survey. Please take a moment, let us know how we're doing. It is 100% anonymous. Let us know how Abe and I are doing and anything you want to see in future Etchr events. There's a lot more coming down the pike. I will be here Monday afternoon for another live demo with Mark Brewer. We will also have other demos Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're running a lot. We're there. Remember to follow us, subscribe, and hit the reminder button, and you will find out every time that we are live. And you can follow Abe on Instagram. Gonna drop in his Instagram link here.
I'm happy with my work. I'm enjoying it already. Again, the idea is you cannot make it perfect, of course, but at least give justice to what you are doing. When I say justice, at least it should look like a garlic, not a stone or something else. You just pile on the the details. You have to be faithful on your reference material, and then the first critic would be yourself, not someone else's, because your friends will tell you, "Oh, your work is so beautiful, it's so nice," but of course that's a lie.
Oh, that's harsh.
Sorry, I'm really sorry to drop the bomb for that. So the good thing with that is if you're noticing that something is not right or something is missing in your work, then you're improving because you know by yourself that, hey, I can improve. I can make it better. So that's a good thing. It's basically observation
And lots of practice.
and less of practice. Forgive me for being blunt, but I'm just really honest. And then according to Salvador Dali, drawing is the honesty of art. Either it's there's no shortcuts, either it's good or bad. So that's Salvador Dali himself was talking about drawing. So if you're not good, you think you're not good, you just practice, practice, and practice. Eventually, you'll become better. I think I'm using number one. That's why. It's good.
And he's a great reference to inspiration is everywhere. There are photos of Dali in the middle of a lake and a river, and he's got his setup all floating as he's physically in the water, painting, sketching. I mean, talk about risky.
Yeah, because Dali and Da Vinci is a naturalist. By the way, Da Vinci is a self-taught artist. He doesn't have a formal teacher when he was young, so he copied things from nature. So it's the same reason. He's one of my idols. It's the same reason why I'm copying Ivory. I'm copying directly from what I am seeing. So the next time I'm gonna draw a garlic, it will be much easier for me. It's recorded on my brain, and then everything else will be smooth. So if I miss a detail or create a, a plot, so I can fix it. I can make a good ad lib as if there's nothing wrong with my work. And the good thing with Etchr is they're launching this kind of live demo because here in my country, so I think most of the professors when I was in college, they don't give us live demo, so they just give us our dates, and then I'm not talking shit against them. I'm just talking uh, very honest. Okay, they just give us their plates and then they let us do our thing, and then they will arrive and then check it and then see it. Is this okay, sir? And then when they arrive, my teacher will tell me, okay, all the good plates should be on the right side, and all the badly done plates should be put on the left side. And then me, I'm always that a teaser. Sir, can I put it on the middle? Actually, there's a good thing with that because if you think your work is not that good enough, but well, in fact, you're that good, and then you put your work on the left side, so some of your classmates will get mad at you. So there's a competition going on, and then we're able to learn that way. But on the latter parts of our college days, college year, so they teach us. So they teach us first the discipline that we should be independent. But the good thing with this kind of Etchr uh, class is everything else now is free, but you have to be really attentive and then work on your drawing skills, because no matter how many videos you have watched, as long as you haven't do it yourself, you will not become good, because drawing is experiential. So art making for me is experiential. So to become good at it, then you have to understand it. So uh, knowing is different from understanding. So you have to understand what you're doing to become good at it.
And a lot of that comes from practice and resketching
Yep.
pieces over and
So
over and over.
yeah, no, don't worry if you cry a lot, because eventually you will become good.
There should be no crying in art. If you're crying in art, just take the day off. Go for a walk.
Yeah,
Go outside.
yeah,
Fresh air. Don't cry. You're supposed to be playing.
yeah. It's okay. It's okay to be frustrated, but that's a good part of it. You'll become good eventually. Yeah, and that's a good tip, actually, Tara. You have to go outside. If you're getting drained with what you're doing, I go outside. Most of the time, I ride my bike and then go somewhere, some far away places, and then to relax my mind, to at least think differently. And then when I go back to my drawing board or to my canvas, things will be easy. Much more, I can think much more better compared when I am stressed or I am much worried with what I am doing. So it takes time, actually. So I'm working on my cast shadows now. You can see I'm
We have,
expecting.
I want to say we have about 10 minutes left. Yeah, sometimes you just have to go outside and look at a tree. I know it sounds weird, but if you go, it's think like a little kid. They see the world completely different than we do because they don't have any of our stresses.
That's good. Like for example, this one. So I'm working on the major lines first, like this one. So this is a major line. It's actually a separation. So I have to work on this. And then this one is a depression. So I have to work on this, that depression. And then this is a high area, this one. I have to work on my lines, not that thick, because again, lines in nature are illusory. It's basically juxtaposition of light and shadow. So if you put your lines all thick together, everything else will look forward to your eyes. It wouldn't have any dimension. So you need to work on your lines very well. So this is the technique. So I get tired already with adding the details little by little. So you can change your I call it a tactic, or maybe change your methodology. So I work on the major details first, and then later on we'll work on the minor details. So at least to relax my eyes. Let's work on the minor details inside. And then I have to create a counter stroke. Okay. So that's it. I will make another demo for 5 minutes. And then if you have questions, so I'm satisfied with my work. Okay.
The shadows
So,
really helped make it
yep.
emerge off the page.
Shadows must be, of course, put in a correct manner to make it look three-dimensional. Thank you, Tara. Any questions that you would like to ask me?
You are inspiring everyone today.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay, I should stop drawing this. Okay, so this is different from, I'm gonna draw my face mask. So this is not part of the script, but I was able to draw it really fast, so I have to draw this one. Okay, it's a bit, would like to work on the details.
Well, that's lovely because it's taking objects from around you and finding something inspiring within them. And everybody's used to seeing the face mask now, sadly.
Yep. So this is very timely, right? Okay. So again, the line of action, it's a bit diagonal. I hope I can finish it on time.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. And then the curve here. Okay. So the shape. So when it comes to drawing, let's follow on the attribution methodology. So when I say attribution, so what's the basic shape that it's closest to? So if it's a bit triangular, then you do a triangle. If it's square, then do a square. Don't worry, because you can correct the silhouette, you can correct the necessary details later on. The first things first is you have to plot out what's what is necessary. Okay, so from here, I was able to plot out what is necessary already. Okay, so I will work on the major detail this one.
And
Again,
oh, sorry. Remember
is,
that we have Abe's 90-minute workshop on June 12th. The link is in our feed, and it'll be more extensive. Animals,
yep.
or ask your questions.
Actually, you can ask questions here.
They've been, yes,
I'm more onto I would like to hear questions, so at least I can elaborate more what I'm doing. So I'm in need of that, to be honest, because sometimes I'm getting hooked to what I am doing. I forgot to speak at all. I forget to speak at all. So much better if you can ask me questions, so at least I can, yeah, answer what is bugging you, or what do you think. Sometimes for an artist, what you really need is an affirmation. So you just have to look at someone else doing it, and then, or if not, ask questions about him, like, or ask questions about me, and then, is this correct, is this okay? And then if someone agrees to that as well, then hey, you're doing good. As simple as that.
do you have a favorite subject matter, or do you prefer to focus on still life and food?
No, actually, I love the painting still. I like painting landscapes and then people. So mind if I show you some of my figure
Absolutely.
drawings? This is for my exhibition, by the way. So human figure is my favorite subject. So these are doctors, so the frontliners, and then this one is a social realist kind of artwork. So this is for my, again, exhibition. So this one. using white ink. So my favorite subject is I just did this still like today because this is the most easiest thing to do. I'm not being boastful or anything, but this is the easiest. So this is the most basic when it comes to ink drawing. So these are samples that I would like to show you, and this ones you can see the details, the combination of different line techniques put together. Yep, I think that's it. And then even this one, this farmer. So if you're going to look at the curves, pointillism, hatch lines, cross hatch lines, it makes the work much more volumetric. Okay, going back to my work.
Abe, your texture sheet, did you share that with Etchr already?
Sorry. What's the question again?
The use of line sheet, your texture sheet, is that available through Etchr?
Yep, it's available actually.
Okay.
For this ones, I use Etchr. This is watercolor black. It's on my other table. It's the 8 by 8 inches watercolor black that I have used. Actually, I prefer to use thick papers compared with thinner paper. So this is a thinner one because I'll be using the 8 by 8 inches watercolor sheets for my other workshop, animal drawing.
Right, we have.
So you can slow down actually if you want. So now I'm slowing down. I can draw fast if I want, but I want you to see that you just need to relax. So you don't have to rush. You can control your own pace, by the way, which what I'm doing right now. Earlier, I was working really fast, at least to give you a confidence like, hey, this can be done easily. But if, of course, someone's getting, wow, can I do it that fast? Or you're getting a bit uh, scared. So I can do it, of course, slowly. You just have to focus. Again, the technique is you need to focus. You need to have a strong focus on what you're doing. And then just enjoy it. Relax. Listen to a music, or if you're getting tired, yeah, grab some snacks. Something like that.
Nothing messy though.
Yep.
No messy
Live a
snacks.
normal life. Yep. No messy snacks. maybe a chocolate. Joke only. Okay.
All right.
So how
Our
many
time is just about up. I'm going to drop in our feedback survey again, as well as our link for Abe's 90-minute workshop, which is on June the 12th. And all of the images created today will be available on our Etchr page, and Abe will put them up on his Instagram as well, I'm certain. And we've got just a couple minutes. Are there any other last minute questions?
maybe they just would like to watch? Come on, ask some questions.
No, I think because you talked about your process, there was some existential talk as well. So we had a very fulfilled group. I hope to see
Super
everybody
appreciating.
back. Like I said, we have more events on Friday, Saturday, and Monday. Thank you, Abe. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Go about, enjoy your days, and we will see everybody again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.